Hey guys, welcome back to Meta Minds, where we help you master your mindset. My name's Dan, and I'm a fully qualified counselor.
And my name's Eamon, and I'm a video marketer.
And on today's episode, we're talking about how you are more valuable than you think you are. It's a bit of a deep one to dive into, and
but it's a really, really important topic.
Yeah.
And there's a general kind of consensus. So here's what we're gonna run this podcast. Basically, we're gonna set up the theme that there's a general consensus, especially in our generation, that people are less confident than potentially they deserve to be. There's just a general lack of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to dive into why and how that is, so that you can potentially understand why you might not be confident, and then some actionable tips and steps to take so that you can become more confident and realize your true value.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, first things first, we're very lucky to be in the position that we are in, that, we haven't really had that many things kind of get in our way. We've definitely overcome particular things to help realize our value. And we've put in a lot of the self-development work to kind of get to where we are, to be grounded in our values, to be confident enough to have a podcast, put content out, and all these different kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But initially, potentially weren't not blessed, but the opposite, with trauma that's potentially held us back a lot and given us this lack of confidence kind of thing, which we're kind of seeing everywhere. Then there's a lot of different reasons why that is, but the main thing is, we see this everywhere, that there's a lack of confidence in everyone, especially in our generation. There's a lot of things that are kind of holding people back. Anything else on that?
Yeah, well, just in terms of my reflection of, where I'm at now compared to the end of high school, I had really no confidence. I was just playing games all the time, very isolated, didn't have many friends. And because I had moved here from England, I was, not really fitting in, getting bullied a bit. And in terms of my confidence, I didn't think I had much worth or much confidence. And it's a very kind of dark space to be in. And, a lot of people are in that space all the time. People are constantly getting into that space of not feeling worthy, not feeling like, why don't I have friends, or why can't I find what I'm interested in? So it's really important, I think, to be gentle on yourself through this process. And
even though we're very hard on ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. But, where we're at now is fantastic, and that's amazing. We can be really grateful for it. But, those thoughts do creep in. And I can guarantee, I can put that out there, that those thoughts creep in subconsciously of my worth and maybe how I'm not worthy enough to do this. And why am I the type of person to do this? As everyone does, the imposter syndrome sneaks in, your self-worth gets kind of crippled. So, yeah, it's just recognizing that this is a journey and that you will potentially go up and down. It's a wave.
But generally, if you lack the confidence that you deserve, then you are not going to take steps that, you can think of the ideal version of yourself, the person that's just going out crushing it, doing everything that you would just be, think that you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis, just nothing in their way, just doing a bit of a damage, just swimming through life, effortlessly, pretty much.
Upstream,
upstream, downstream, whatever. Chances are, if you're not doing those things, there's a lack of confidence, and there's a reason that you don't have this lack of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You're not grounded in your values and really tied to what it is that you believe in. You don't have this strong sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a number of reasons why you don't have that, and a lot of the problems are to do with society. So let's kind of jump into, and the other thing is, it doesn't have to be this way. You don't deserve to have this lack of confidence. You deserve to be living the life that you want to be living and having this confidence, because life is so short. Why can't you just be vibing every day, basically? Here at Meta Minds, we're all about vibing every day.
Yeah.
Self-development.
Yeah.
So basically, that's it. You deserve to have that confidence, and hopefully this podcast can help you kind of attain that. So what are some of the reasons that potentially people might have lack of confidence? What are some
We've got
barriers?
many things. Trauma could be one of the biggest ones.
And what shapes and sizes and forms would that come in?
Many forms. Trauma can come in any way, and trauma can be a seemingly insignificant comment that one of your parents said. It could be you trying to action something and then failing that, so then in turn that becomes trauma. Anything can be internalized and created into negative or positives. Again, we've said this in many other episodes, the only control you have over your life is how you react to things. You can't control the past, you can't control the future. You can try to, but you're not going to get anywhere. You can only control how you react to things. So, we mentioned trauma, that can come in the form of even just your birth order. There could be lots to do with your siblings could be outshining you, and then your parents are putting a lot of emphasis on them achieving, therefore neglecting you. They may not intend to do that, but that could be formed into trauma. There's anything could be trauma, really. Me hanging out with you is quite traumatic.
Most times I hang out with you. Damn it, you got to it first. Let's end the podcast there, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, you got that. You got all these structures. So school, that can really push your confidence down because you're then being compared on an academic level, on a standardized test.
And social level.
And a social level, yeah. But it's not realistic. They're not actually testing your emotional intelligence or your common sense or, how you are socially with people. It's more so just, this is the test. If you didn't do well, then you're probably not going to do well in the real world. And then that can really crush your confidence. But, there are many things that, as we're all unique, fluttering butterflies in this world,
Beautiful. That's beautiful,
dude. Like, we're all so unique and we all have value and worth, all of us do. Regardless of what you've been through, you have something to offer the world. And it's hard to recognize that sometimes. But I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of the build up to us becoming adults doesn't really allow us to stand out and be outstanding people. There's a lot of oppression.
Or even recognize that value because, as you mentioned, with parents and even school or whatever, you're thrown into this environment and, you're quite naive. You're only learning and growing as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then people in that environment have ideas for what they want you to do in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so you put into this school environment or you put into this home environment and your parents have these expectations and try and mold you in a particular way. They're just trying to do their best job, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're trying to raise you to be a supervillain, in which case, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Reach out to us.
That's a little weird.
Get you on the podcast. Yeah. And so, little things might happen in that environment. Like, again, you said trauma doesn't necessarily have to be traumatic. It can just be a small thing, like your mum slaps you on the wrist when you're a kid and all of a sudden that stops you from ever doing anything ever, like in particular, asking for food ever again. It's like, and all of a sudden you become like bulimic or whatever. Like, that's real. That's how these tiny things kind of happen until you kind of, I'm not saying go back and dig all that up, although that is important work to do.
Yeah.
But these are the kinds of things that shape your confidence and how you present yourself and what you believe in kind of thing. Is like, I can't do that because of, you don't even know, because it's like this tiny little traumatic thing because I think I can't or whatever.
Yeah. And I guess like everyone you're going to interact with has their own agenda. So school has their own agenda, your parents, your siblings, every single structure you interact with is going to have its own agenda. So I guess it really does come down to like trying to do that internal work for yourself and trying to understand like what it is that you really do value. So a really good example is, I knew a lot of people through high school who had parents who wanted them to go to university, but they didn't actually know what they wanted to do. So they were forced into a position where it's like, well, you need to go because you're smart. So they were rushed into an industry or into like a particular type of study that they didn't actually know if they wanted to do or not, but it was kind of like expected of them, like just go and do it. Like they're tapping them along. And if you look at it, the parents are just trying to offer that kid the best future, recognizing that, well, if you do that, then you'll probably have a better paid job. You'll probably do well. But if your values don't align with that, then you're not going to enjoy that industry or that future. You might not complete the course. You might not even get into that job. And then you've wasted a lot of your own time, which in turn could be a roll-on effect for your confidence for everything else. So it's kind of just really taking that time to work on yourself and recognizing, when people say things, they're saying it from their own lens. They're saying it from their own ego, their own mind. They've been developed in a particular way. And it's just recognizing that, being aware that not everything that everyone says you have to grab onto and hold, close to your heart.
Especially Dan. Don't listen to him.
Don't listen to me. Yeah.
He's just trying to traumatize you.
Yeah.
So, but a larger symptom that I'm kind of hearing from that.
Sorry about that.
It's just touching under the table here, guys.
Just taps your leg, yeah.
The larger symptom that I'm hearing from that is that, people are trying to rush you through this life to get to this particular thing. It's like, might be your parents, but it's a larger issue with our society. And then it's like, oh, you're 14, figure out your life now because we want to know what you want to be and how you can make money and how we can make money off you. It's like, let's not get into the whole capitalism argument here because we're just talking about confidence. Like, this is unfortunately the environment that we have been born into that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's not a utopia, okay? It's not perfect. It's far from it. There's a lot of challenges involved in it. And I think one of them that you kind of pointed to there was that it's like you're forced to figure out your identity earlier than, it's like, I don't even know. I had no idea who I was even when I was 21. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to figure it out. And I went to a uni course and it happened to be one that helped me grow. I was lucky with that. But again, going to uni, people are like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm 16, dude. And we've had this conversation on our podcast before as well. But it's like, that's another thing is like, there's the larger things like our society. This
100%.
thing you're trying to fit into doesn't necessarily align, especially with younger people, they're much more awake and they see things in a different way. Partly, why we have this podcast and a lot of our viewers are those younger people, and they just fundamentally disagree with a lot of these things. So it's all of a sudden like the environment that you're in, the larger environment that you're in, doesn't actually align with your values.
Exactly.
Which is a huge problem. How do you have confidence in that situation?
Exactly. And a thing that like just popped into my mind is that, one of our primal psychological needs is belonging or feeling connected.
Yeah.
So in turn, your parents or the school or whoever it is who's trying to offer you some sort of guidance to potentially, quotation marks, better future, there's real potential that you're going to go with that just because you want to belong and just because you want to feel accepted and connected. And that can happen subconsciously. If someone tells you something, you can go, oh, yeah, okay, like I value that person's opinion, therefore I'm going to go down this path. And we're very easily influenced as human beings, especially when we're younger, especially when we're in a system where we are controlled by the school environment and our home environment, and we don't have as much autonomy. And another thing that's really important is the male brain isn't fully matured and developed until you're 25.
Yeah.
But yet they're trying to make us make a major life decision at 16 or even earlier. So, these things are really important to recognize. And it would have been amazing to know that when I was 16 and they're kind of like, Dan, what are you going to do for the rest of your life, mate? And I'm like, I don't know, hang out with Eamon, start a podcast. They're like, no, you can't do that. But yeah, it's
and
tricky.
We are rebelling against the system.
Yeah.
So, but in short, there's a lot of things that stand in our way from becoming confident, becoming grounded in who we are, actually finding who it is that we want to be, and getting ultimately that life that we really want, that we're just going to be vibing with every single day. And it's stopping you from getting what you want. Chances are, you're like, oh man, I wish I could talk to girls a little bit more. It's like, well, it's because you don't have this confidence. You don't have this back end work done to actually get that thing. And whether it's girls or a job or more friends or any of these different things that you could want, recognize what you want. And then now let's jump into some of the things that you can do to actually be grounded in your sense of self and gain that confidence so that you can recognize your value, because this is it. Like, we're just seeing so many people not have so much self-perceived value. And it's crazy, man, because again, like, we've been lucky to be on the journey that we're on. And that is kind of one of the questions that people ask me. It's like, oh, how are you so confident enough to put yourself on camera and put yourself out there? Like, you'd have the same thing, right? Just making content and putting yourself out there.
You message me about that daily. Like, Dan, why are you doing
Dan,
this?
who are you? Can you teach me, please? You're just my mentor. And I'm like posing as a self-development guy. Oh dear. And I don't even honestly have like an answer for them. And now we can kind of send them this, I suppose. But it's like, I've just been lucky enough to go on a path where I can kind of figure out exactly what my values are relatively early, I suppose, in comparison to potentially some of the people out there. And so I'm confident in the things that I do, even if, there are, and I have no doubt that there are people out there being like, oh my God, what's Eamon doing? That's so stupid. He's such a loser. Like, why is he doing that? And it's like, these are voices that are in my mind. They're not wrong. I'm a dead loser. But I'm a loser based on their values. And based on my values, I'm a winner.
Winning. Yeah, exactly.
So it's me framing how I'm... So to dive into it, like, some of the actionable things that you can actually do to realize this value. Well, firstly, like you pointed to it before, is like, find your tribe, like hang out with friends that have values that are similar to the values that you want to have, because that can be hugely disconnecting. Like, also, you could be in a work environment, even if you like that job, everyone else at that job aligns with different values. It's like, oh yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, let's get drunk. And you're like, I don't know, I kind of feel like meditating. But then all of a sudden you're in this environment which clashes with your beliefs, Like, but I just want to go walk out in nature. Like, I understand. Everyone's like, let's get drunk. So that, like, not being around people that vibe with you and are having a similar kind of share similar values with you, having that connection element, it grounds your sense of self basically in an identity. And it's like, could be a potential negative echo chamber because we're just spouting the same stuff, being like, yeah, we're right about everything.
Yeah.
But the positives outweigh the negatives if you can be aware of that.
For sure, yeah.
Because you're finding a tribe, you're connecting with people. And that was the same as Caveman, right? You'd go back out, and if Sally wants to go out drinking, there's no bars in Caveman.
No, maybe.
But But you want to just go picking berries and you find the tribe that's picking your berries, you're going to fit in, you're going to grow, you're going to learn, you're going to be more confident in who you are, and you're going to be able to go out and do the things that you want to do because you have perceived value because it's validated by people around in your circle.
Exactly right, yeah. And I guess as I mentioned before, the whole idea of belonging or belongingness that we try to, it's a primal need that we all have to feel connected. As you know, from the caveman days where we're kind of all in this tight-knit community, we haven't evolved past that point. It's something we still require as human beings.
And I've been alive for 2 million years.
Well, that's exactly right. So it's kind of impressive. But even when I look back at just a bit of reflection from my school life of when I moved to Australia and I was struggling to fit in, I found myself becoming a bit of a drifter and just trying to hang with whatever group would kind of accept me, and I would just kind of be in that group, and I would find myself slightly changing to adjust to that group.
Yeah.
And that's not a good way to be, and I've recognized that now, yesterday. No, I didn't. But it's something really important to recognize it. The tribe you're hanging around with, the people you're hanging around with, do they share some similar values to you? And if they don't, then potentially you are then going down the path of something that is incongruent with your own values and needs, and therefore you're going to feel some sort of trauma or tension in your body.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually aligning with what your values are.
Hard to recognize.
Yeah, 100% is. And I didn't recognize that for 2 years in high school. I was just trying to find people and try to feel like I connected and had some sort of worth. And I'm trying to find all these different groups and nothing's feeling right. And it was only after I did a bit of internal work on myself and recognized that, one of my biggest values is authenticity and making sure that I'm true to myself and honest. And that's something I really appreciate about friends in my life. When I started recognizing that and recognizing that these people aren't about that and they're just about living a very basic life and just getting drunk on the weekend and doing whatever that isn't extremely fulfilling in my eyes, but for them it could be.
Yeah,
again, everyone's truth, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't align with me, then I'm not going to be congruent with my beliefs and values. I'm going to then be pandering to someone else's values. So again, hard thing to recognize, but really important work to maybe sit down and recognize what your core 3 values are. And also recognizing maybe what values you would like in a friend or what traits you appreciate in a friend. And that can come through reflection of recognizing even family members who you value and what kind of traits really resonate with you. It's one of those things that obviously takes a bit of time, and it might not be straight away. You might not find your values until later on in life, which is completely fine.
Well, and you might not even really... The thing is, if you don't have experience with a lot of different friends and different people, which is totally normal for this age of technology, everyone's hiding behind their phones, right? Then you might not even realize what's possible in a friend. And we've been lucky to find each other because we have such sad values. You got to have them sad values.
You got to have them.
Dude, if you don't have sad values, it's
Ben, what are you doing? Yeah.
So yeah, we've been lucky to find each other, and I have a couple of other friends that are like that. It's not just about you, dude. Okay. Have other friends, man.
I feel personally attacked, but yeah, that's cool.
So and I have a video about this on my YouTube channel. Actually, shout out, go check it out. We can link that in the description. About finding creative friends, and it's we're talking about go find friends that align with your tribe or whatever. But it's we haven't actually given actionable steps on how to do that.
Yeah.
So chances are, if you have social media, Facebook groups are a huge place to potentially reach out. If you're a vegan, boom, just you're into surfing, boom, just
there's a group for
Facebook
that, yeah.
group, and there's locals. You'll be able to just add everybody as a friend. Hey man, you want to go surfing? Let's just check it out. Boom, you have a new friend immediately. What the hell? Life's just on another level because you have a friend that's doing the same stuff as you. Instagram, just search through different hashtags, locations. Look for your actual tribe, and you have to. It's an active thing, really. And I think that this connection element is why we're spending so much time on it. When you have that sorted out, a lot of the rest of the things just kind of fall into place.
For sure.
You're searching for a job, but you don't really have any friends that are aligned with your values or whatever. You're gonna pander to that job, as you said, and I think I want this job, and then you don't get it, and you're I'm not valuable enough.
Exactly.
But if you've got this tribe that kind of reaffirms your sense of self, you're yeah, that job looks okay, but it's it's not the most perfect job, and that's going to be reflected in how you talk to the people that so you want this job and you have this interview, good stuff. It's why do you want this job? Being well, I want a really fulfilling job. It's not I want this job, I need this job. It's well, I'm happy to have this job, but what do you have to offer me?
Exactly.
Because it's my life is valuable. I have value to offer you. When you realize that value based on your tribe, then it's the other things, people are just going to respect you so much more.
Exactly.
Because you respect yourself because you're aligned with your own values.
Yeah. And the thing that's interesting about this whole thing as well is, and we do it quite a lot, we're framing it in a way that it's this is what you have to do, this is the answer as such, and we're kind of framing it as it's a no-brainer, it's easy to do, but people need to recognize that doing these things are going to be uncomfortable and confronting, and it's 100% not going to feel natural for the first couple of times you do it. Like, for example, when you're authentic to yourself and you maybe disagree with someone else and there's a bit of tension there, of course you're going to feel uncomfortable because you're creating a tension, but you're also really recognizing your own values and your own truth instead of just, accommodating for other people's needs and just accepting everything that they're saying and validating their story. If you don't agree with it, then that could be a small step for you to take a little bit of your own confidence and value back. And that can be done in a safe environment, whether that's with a friend that you chat to regularly. Maybe there's something you don't agree with, but normally you just go, no. Because so many people are just, yes men or yes ladies. They just say, yes, no, I agree with you. But that could be a small way to maybe get a bit of confidence and autonomy back in your life. Just going, man, I see where you're coming from. That's great. But I actually feel this way. And it's going to be confronting for the first time, but that will slowly build your confidence maybe in a safe environment. That's something that I did early on. I don't know if that works for other people out there, but I think it's just good to recognize that small steps always lead to larger goals or larger outcomes. You saying that you want to be a confident person is like down the track. That's a couple of years down the track. But you being more authentic in your daily actions, that's achievable. You can be more honest to people, and that in turn feeds into your values potentially and makes you a more confident person in your day-to-day life. So I think...
I disagree with you.
Well...
No, but you're dead right there. It's like, and it's not even about like disagreeing with people. Like, don't take the action to disagree with someone because you want to disagree with them so that you can validate. It's
because that's another problem.
Well,
just
that's
disagreeing.
Then that's your ego, right?
Yeah.
So, but if it's like the way I try and perceive it is that it's like it's not about you or me. It's like if you throw an idea right there, let's grill the idea. I'm not grilling you. It's like, oh, there's an idea. Let's deconstruct that idea to try and get the best outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not being like, that idea sucks. You suck, man. Because again, that's coming from ego. But if I was like, oh, let's kind of look at that idea together rather than against each other and be like, I think that maybe it could be built on this way, or I kind of disagree with that because of this kind of thing. So it's like just saying it based on the way you like what your values are, kind of thing. And again, but the other thing is like, in terms of like being passive and that kind of thing, because you're not confident, you hang out with friends and like, oh, we want to do this, and you just be like, okay. But it's like, is that actually what you want to do? It's like, oh, but I wanted to kind of go to the beach. It's like, did you make that apparent to people? Like, did you say, hey guys, why don't we go to the beach? And then if everyone's like, no, I don't want to do that, you go, okay. But if someone's like, oh, that's a great idea, why don't we do that? And then all of a sudden you get to go to the beach and everyone has a bit of fun. You're not like intruding on other people. It might be a positive outcome for absolutely everyone, but you're just too shy because you're not confident enough that to even put the idea out there into the world.
So important, yeah. And I think like that example is really key because in my eyes, that sounds like this imaginary person that you've made up, they're starting to find their voice. And that is in my opinion, one of the most important things to building your confidence. And it comes down to just being authentic to yourself. But if you start to actually recognize that you do have a voice, that you don't have to be oppressed, that you don't have to accept that everyone, is wanting to go to the nightclub tonight. You don't have to do that just because it's a unanimous decision. Like, you, again, have the choice to react to that situation. So I think finding your voice is a really hard thing to do, but potentially really important work. To just recognize like what your voice sounds like and that you can say something and that you do have that option to just go, hey, the beach sounds great, but I'd prefer to do this, or how do you guys feel about doing this or whatever.
And even if it's to the point where everyone is in disagreement with you, if by the time you have actually developed that over a number of years or whatever, and you have enough other friends or whatever that you want to hang out with, and you have this grounded sense of self, even if like 5 people team up against you and they're like, no, we hate that idea, we want to go do this, instead of just being like, okay, tagging along with that idea, you can be like, well, I really don't want to do that, so I'm not going to do that. It's been great hanging out with you guys. We'll see you next time.
Exactly.
And go hang out with someone else, or go do other high value activities that you invest in yourself. So I think like we spend a lot of time on the connection element, which is great, but a point that I've just kind of mentioned there is like the other thing is, developing different hobbies that really align with, because again, how are you going to find your tribe unless you actually have particular hobbies or interests that you're into? So like developing hobbies that you can do on your own. So that, for example, if none of your friends are available or, there's not anything to do, then you go, oh, well, I can't wait to go. So like mine's, creating video content, creating music, creating podcasts, like I have, going to the gym, like I have a lot of different activities that I do by myself. That if, for example, someone was to dog me, like you do all the time, no,
I feel that.
then I'm like, well, that's okay because I have this activity that I perceive to be very high value, and I can't wait to do it by myself. And I'm very looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll even dog friends sometimes because I really want to get creative work done. Probably more often than I should actually. So it's like having those, like when you combine those two, it's like creative friends that are on the same like level as you, share the same values as you, with all the other different activities that you perceive to be high value that are important to you, that help you grow and push yourself forward.
For sure.
Combine those things, you're unstoppable, man.
100%, man. And I think the thing that's really apparent and really obvious about something like what you just said there, like recognizing your own value and your own worth and figuring out what your hobbies and passions are, that's really, really important when it comes to the transitions that you will go through in your life. So a prime example is if you're in a relationship with someone and you're in this kind of relationship where it's just so intertwined and interconnected that you don't really have your own identity, and then that relationship breaks off, then you're scrambling to figure out who you are again.
Dies, yeah.
Exactly. But if you do have self-worth and you recognize your values, yes, you're still going to struggle. It's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, but at least you've got something that you recognize that, you don't need someone else to pull your value up. And that was a prime example when, I moved from England to Australia. I had to lose all of my friends that I finally developed.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, dude.
And then I'm like, well, who am I now? And I had to reassess. So like any transition when
especially
you're moving,
being a kid, like very young.
Exactly. So moving, relationships breaking apart, even friendships breaking apart, losing a job is another example. Like anything that happens, yes, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It's a challenging, any sort of transition can be challenging. But like you said, if you recognize these things and try to find hobbies and passions that you have, that you don't depend on other people to build your validity up, then that could be really powerful.
So a really great way to frame this is abundance mentality. When you have this abundance mentality, there's plenty of friends on the planet, or your girlfriend breaks up with you, there's plenty of girls on the planet. It's true. And so is like having this fallback of like, your job destroys you. It's like, well, that's okay because I built up other streams of income. Or, one of a group of your friends says, I never want to hang out with you again. Why? Don't be a dog. That's what you say.
Even come back.
Guys. No, it's like, that's cool because, I'm so grounded in my values that it's like, I don't need that. But, just having that abundance mentality of like, I know that I'm so valuable that I'm going to find so many other people that vibe with who I am. It's your loss that you're not hanging out with me, dude.
Yeah, that's it.
So if you bring that to the table by slowly building these things, we've only got about 30 seconds left. So I reckon we could talk about this forever. But to wrap it up, like you deserve to have probably more confidence than you do. Even if you think you are quite confident, chances are, there is some potential more value that you can have, and you're more valuable than you think you are.
Exactly.
Is the ultimate thing. And it's like if you can put in some of these actions to realize that value, then it's like life is just going to be that much easier for you. Everyone's going to like you more. You're going to like yourself more. You're going to be vibing, and you deserve to as well.
For sure. And I think one last thing is just, if you embody kind of a bit of a geeky or a bit of a kind of awkward mentality or whatever that may be, but that's true to you, like you are unique. So hold on to that. Whatever your quirks are, you are going to find someone at some point who's going to really appreciate those quirks.
Straight up.
So
don't change who you are.
Please don't change who you are.
Unless you're like a murderer or something, in which case
change.
It's a different thing. Well, it could be what you're into, in which case just find your tribe, kill people together, dude.
Right.
The other thing is, in short, like there's a lot of different things that are pushing down on you, and half of them I found in my life made up thoughts and made up identities of people that have opinions about me, which stop me from doing things, but they're just totally made up. I never see those people, never connect with those people. Yeah, they might be real people that I think are having those thoughts, but do they actually physically affect me? No. So realizing that your mind is half the battle actually, because like, you can't do this because of this. It's like, but it's just totally made up.
Yeah, exactly right.
Anyway, again, we could talk about it forever. But yeah, I hope you got some value out of this. If you did, leave us a 5-star review or a review on even if you
an honest review,
an honest review on iTunes or anywhere else that you're listening to it on. We really appreciate it. It helps us grow, helps us get some of these messages out there. If you got anything out of this, message us, let us know. We want to connect with you. Thanks for getting meta with us. See you next time.